Good evening, viewers. You're welcome to another edition of our regular political program, Newspunch. Today, we shall look at a reported attempt by Nigeria's former president, General Olusegun Obasanjo, to the extent that, to the fact that there is an attempt being made by Islamic West Africa province and Boko Haram to kind of Islamize Nigeria. You know, that is an ongoing program and ongoing effort towards that. And that the Nigerian government is looking askance without going forward to address the issue. So that is what I'm going to talk about today, to see how that could be affected, and if at all there are some roadmaps or there are things we can see as indices to direct us to that road to Islamizing Nigeria. With me to do just that topic today, I have two notable speakers on the program. On my immediate left is Mr. Tony Uche Okumu. Tony Uche Okumu is a Christian writer and author. Mr. Okumu, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
On my extreme left, I have a regular commentator on this program, Mr. Kingsley Onyemenem, solicitor and the principal solicitor of KC Law Chambers, United Kingdom and Nigeria. Mr. Onyemenem, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, everybody.
So today this is what I want to discuss about. Recently, Nigeria, President Obasanjo, former president, said that he could see attempts by Nigerian people in Nigeria, by Boko Haram and Islamic states, West Africa, Africa province, trying to Islamize Nigeria, to the extent that the government, to an extent, is doing nothing about it. And there is a choreographed move to bring Islamic states into Nigeria. And there may be some things people have seen to corroborate what he said. So now, how do you react to that kind of submission by a former head of state? I'll begin with you, Mr. Nemenen.
Thank you, Jigudi. I think the first question is, why has it taken the former president this long to speak out? And also, when did he have this knowledge? From what time? I think perhaps if I was to answer that question, I would say that he must have had knowledge. After all, he ruled Nigeria. After all, he had intelligence agencies who worked for him. The essence of Boko Haram did not start yesterday. It existed under his own regime. So he would have had intelligence as to what was happening, not just in Nigeria, but in the whole of West Africa. Whether at this point perhaps he's seen that it's going slightly further than he anticipated, and therefore he's felt the need to come out and speak out about it. But it's better that he said it now than perhaps leave it too late. But I think, Chukwudi, the telltale signs for me has always been there. If we look at what's been happening in Nigeria since the inception of this government, okay? If we look at appointment of ministers, appointment of military chiefs, and the incessant killings of Christians, something that Donald Trump took time out to condemn. And these are killings that had no repercussions on individuals who've done it. Nigeria has become a very unsafe place because of the activities of the headsmen. They're literally everywhere, not just in the West, because I think Westerners initially thought perhaps it was something that was, only geared towards the Igbos or to the East. It's in Enugu. I understand now in the West that people are being kidnapped, people are being killed. It's happening a lot more in the North. There are signs, not just telltale signs. There are very obvious signs now as to what's happening or what's about to happen in Nigeria. And I think that it's important that people speak out and steps are taken to address it.
Mr. Oku, what's the reaction to that?
What I can say is that, like Mr. Newman said, the issue of Islamizing Nigeria didn't start today. Even when Obasanjo himself was the president, there was a sign that something like that is about to happen. But the problem is that after he left office and when Buhari came in, the whole thing came up in full glare of everybody. And it's like a strategy that had been planned with the Northerners and all the people that are gearing for Islamizing Nigeria. The main point here is that Nigeria is a society or a nation that has different and diverse way of beliefs and religion. And that's become a kind of a problem in the sense that from what we can see now is that Nigeria has not yet come to the point of being united as one because of all these agitations. Now, if you look at it, when Buhari became the president, before he eventually came in, he contested twice and didn't make it to the presidency. And we can see that from the time he failed the first election, he failed, the second one he failed. We could see what happened. That a lot of people were killed, a lot of things happened, a lot of utterances were made, showing the intention of the man himself. So when he finally came in, he just actually started carrying out what his intention was. And what you can see now is that Nigeria is so divided and so dismembered that there hardly been any time in the history of Nigeria worse than this moment because of this idea and intention of trying to make the whole nation that stands for unity per se being divided in the sense that the presidency is not doing anything, because if people are dying every day in hundreds, people are killed, minorities are killed, women, children, everybody, nobody is safe, and the presidency is not doing anything serious to stop it or to curb it without even making any presidential utterance on the media or on the TV, it will leave people thinking that there's an ulterior motive to all these things. And the herdsmen themselves and the Boko Haram themselves advancing towards not only the northerners. We know now that at the moment they have gone to places like Enugu State where killings are happening as well. They're going to places like Ondo State where killings are happening. And they have set up hamlets in these areas where the villagers or the owners of the farms can't even go to their farms again. And nothing is being done about it. So it's something they've planned, and gradually is being taken up. Gradually they're being implementing the whole idea of this Islamization. And believe it or not, it's a reality, but only that most time people are not aware of these things until it happens by sudden and people begin to wonder how did it happen. But we have seen the sign of this even before Buhari himself came to power.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Yemen, I want to take you up on what you said. You said that it's like Obasanjo reacted very lately because there were signs during his time in office of this happening. Can you point out?
If we look at, if you recall, perhaps if you go and look at WikiLeaks, you'd find that this was one of the things that were actually disclosed by Julian Assange's WikiLeaks about the attempt and those people who in fact were the sponsors of Boko Haram and what their intentions were. So, this disclosure was not made yesterday. It's been years now since this disclosure was made. And the former president clearly must have had knowledge of this. We had knowledge, I had knowledge of it. I think perhaps for those of us who read it then, who weren't in government, we probably thought perhaps, this was never something that wasn't something that would ever be materialized. But we are seeing it. There have been talks about in the past about cattle colonies everywhere in Nigeria. We know what comes with cattle colonies. Okay, they've been. I believe there's a particular senior military officer, a British military officer, who in fact had also mentioned the fact that this was part of the plans that are ongoing. There are things that have been happening in Nigeria as we know it. We've looked at incidents where Boko Haram members were captured, sent to prison, brought out under the pretense of being rehabilitated, and then sent back into society. Now, our government has not once termed Boko Haram as a terrorist group, or the headsman as a terrorist group. But we have the Biafrans who are being called terrorists, and yet these are armless individuals. When you put most of these factors together, it becomes absolutely clear that there's something amiss. There's something going on. And I think it will probably take a fool not to actually come to a conclusion and to understand that there are bigger plans that are taking place in Nigeria.
Yeah. Can we extrapolate the fact that under Obasanjo when he was president, we had a governor in Zamfara State proclaim Sharia in Zamfara State, and he didn't do much about it. He allowed them to do what they could do. Could we say that was one of the indices to show where this trend started?
If you see, okay, from Obasanjo's point of view, Obasanjo is not a Muslim, as we all know. And he understands that Nigeria is a society where everybody has to come as a unity, like in a unit. When he was there, his style of leadership was quite different. And he was able to bridge a gap between the different factions in Nigeria. He was able to stop these agitations, because we found that even if we go back history line, we understand that even Obasanjo, even before Obasanjo came in, this issue of Nigeria gearing towards being Islamized has been there, you know. But Obasanjo came in and was able to steer the ship so that all this thing doesn't start happening. I believe one thing why that didn't happen because of his religious belief, being a Christian and believing that Nigeria is united, or as a united country. But when Buhari came in, his religion and belief system is playing a part strongly in what is happening in Nigeria. And again, the enlightenment of both leaders. Obasanjo is quite more enlightened, or well enlightened, than Buhari himself in terms of knowing the social cultural makeup of Nigeria, what Nigeria is all about. So his belief as a Christian, not really that of a Christian, but knowing that Nigeria is a secular society, if I put it that way, he saw that it's not the right thing for him to allow a different part to begin to kind of trying to take over the whole nation. But when Buhari came in, it wasn't the same. His idea of leadership was different. His idea of authority and power was different. So you can see that the way Buhari is going at the moment, if he was able to stay to the end of this tenure, this new tenure now, it could end up going as much more further than we see now. From what we are seeing, whereby nothing has been done, from previous administration to this current one going to take place next couple of days. If nothing is done, we might end up seeing worse things happening now.
Yeah, talking about worse things happening. Many people have interpreted Buhari's body language as not in tandem with someone who wants to eradicate violence in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
For example, as you pointed out earlier, this issue of violence or killings by herdsmen has been going on for months. Even, let's not say, since he came into power, he came into office. And he has not really come out openly to challenge these people and then say, put back your this thing. And nothing along that line. But he came out forcefully against a group IPOB, who are also asking for
Determination.
self-determination,
Yes.
And then label them with authority, with the force of the law,
Yeah.
terrorists. But the actual terrorists are being allowed to go, even let us say they are being given convoy and given protection by the states to cause mayhem. How does Buhari's body language promote this effort to Islamize Nigeria? Can you?
I think we've gone beyond the point of body language. We've got to the point where it is clear,
prominent,
and out in the open. He has from his statements in the past, it points and indicates where his position stands. If we're alleging today that headsmen have been responsible and continue to be responsible for killings of Nigerians in every part of Nigeria today, and the authorities under our present president has done nothing to curb it. I think I was reading the other day where it was suggested that Boko Haram should be paid. Is it the headsmen of Boko Haram should be paid some billions?
100 billion.
To stop the killing in Nigeria. It makes me wonder. We have in Nigerian a competent, well-respected army, one that is called upon by United Nations when there's any conflict, not just in Africa, but around the world. Are you saying to me that we cannot deploy the Nigerian army to deal decisively with these individuals? I think we know what the answer to that question is, except where we have a situation where the person at the helm of affairs is not willing to take steps. But I don't understand the concept of having to pay to stop a killing, when clearly we know that if we give these people more money, they're going to arm themselves. I mean, headsmen these days carry AK-47. Where did they get it from? I mean, this is an issue that we have talked about and people have seen happen. Farmers are being displaced from their farms. People are being killed, slaughtered. Babies are being ripped out from their mothers' wombs. It's a crazy, crazy situation. And yet Nigerians sit down and feel comfortable. And I was talking to somebody that they were telling me, Nigerians have bigger problems, hunger. And I tell them that, well, when you see the bigger problem, hunger will be nothing compared to that. And I think it's important that we all, as Nigerians, sit up and speak out about it.
Yeah, Nigeria, taking off from where you stopped, the issue of paying, Obasanjo addressed that issue. That's rather than saying the truth and tackling the issue head on.
Yes.
They are in denial. They're not paying ransom. They're paying ransom to the Boko Harams, and then by paying ransom to them, you are arming them. You are giving them more money to buy equipment against you. One other thing was that it was reported that this government under Buhari, for example, how can you treat an armed group with kid gloves?
Yes.
The Boko Haram, they say they want to pacify them, and then those who they caught, rather than let them face the law, they were now reabsorbed into the Nigerian military.
To
the military. So I don't know. I can't understand. What do we? Is that how countries are run?
I think the thing is this: when the leader of a country, Buhari himself, when he was doing his appointing officers, you can see it was one-sided. Then when the time come for retirement of some officers, some of them were retired earlier. Some retirements was one-sided. And when they were retired, a particular set of group or from one side of the country filled those positions again. So you see, like, is that something that have been planned and that they're working their way through actualizing it? When from the head to the top of all appointments, you see that it's only the northerners, those in the armies, those in the Air Force, those in different ranks and files of Nigerian military are all from one side. And look at it now. The power, the authority, the ammunition, everything you might need to confront or to fight a war is only in one area. Now, if you go to the other part of Nigeria, for example, Enugu State, where they have the 82 mechanized division. The head was another man. If you go to the west, the same thing. So it's like these people were deliberately planted, and this is giving them the boldness, the power to advance. Believe it or not, there is advancement happening at the moment towards capturing everybody at the same time, whereby if anything happens, you can't defend yourself again. You can't fight for yourself again because you've been surrounded by the enemies. So how are you going to escape that?
But why is it that Nigerians have not picked this up? The pillars of what we are discussing now. It's like they have not, picked up that this is, the antenna has not, they have not picked up that fact that there is a determined and can I say a programmed way, a programmed, I don't know how to put it.
A strategy.
A strategy to kind of rein in everybody.
Yeah.
For example, recently we gathered, even as of yesterday, I saw a gory picture of, I don't know how to put it now because we are on the air, decapitated heads of human beings in Enugu just yesterday.
Yes.
People being killed, say they are killed by herdsmen.
Yes.
And why can't people pick what is they feel as now that this is what is happening because they are gradually penetrating every nook and cranny of Nigeria, both in the southeast, southwest, and as we pointed out here, the military hierarchy is dominated by a section of the country.
Yeah.
Among all the GOCs, there is nobody from the south. They're all northerners. Among all the military chiefs, they're all from northerners. So this is kind of advancing to that kind of Islamizing Nigeria. Another index we have to point out is the fact that recently in Abuja there is what they call systematic efforts to enforce Sharia Islamic law.
Yes.
For example, we heard that some hotels, some
demolished
nightclubs were demolished.
Yes.
Yeah. So how does that?
I mean, I stayed in Abuja for quite some time, and I know that the trend that is taking place in Abuja now, it's not what it used to be. The first, I think, that was towards the Ramadan period. It was during the Ramadan period where they arrested prostitutes or people that they referred to as prostitutes, and then took them to court, and then proceeded to now demolish the nightclub where they were arrested from.
And apart from that, they also went to one other place.
Yes, but I mean, if you think about it, all this is happening without the backing of the law. You don't just get up in the morning, take a bulldozer, go to a businessman's premises and demolish his business without you getting a court order for that purpose. If you feel that a business premises has obviously negated the law by doing something that is against either employing prostitutes to provide services, then the law is there for you to take such establishment to court and punish them accordingly. Yeah, and if you're to demolish, then we're talking about planning permission issues, aren't we, really? Are they demolishing it because the law says that you must? There's nothing under the law that says you must, as far as I'm aware of it. But if there is, then they should have taken the necessary steps to obtain the necessary orders to do so. But clearly, this is again somebody higher up there who are giving orders for things to be done without repercussion. And it's not just one. I think there's another one that's been earmarked for demolition also. We are seeing what is happening, and it's happening rather fast. But I think the international community needs to wade into this. There's need for Nigerians to take very positive steps. And if I was going to say shout. If you have to shout from the hilltop, do so.
There are Tony. There are people who say that what we are witnessing today is a historical thing. That Ahmadu Bello once boasted that they were going to dip the Quran into the River Niger, into the sea, in their quest to colonize or Islamize the whole country, because they were abruptly stopped at Ilorin in their in their conquest of attempt to conquer Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria, and then they boasted that they will not stop until they dip their the Quran into the River Niger. Do you see this? What is happening now? A furtherance of that.
That was well documented. He made such a statement. I think what we find here is that it's like when during a race and somebody begins to hand over the baton to the next person. I think that's what you see happening. You see, it's all about ideology. The same ideology that has been carrying them all through is what they are still going on with. And one thing you have found is that when it comes to leadership and when it comes to leading a nation or leading a country, you can find that Nigeria has been led all through for over 35 years by a particular set of a particular region, the Northerners. So, and that is something that was inbuilt in them. They have this tendency of conquest, to conquer a region, to conquer a particular society, and be the dominant ones there. So it's like a father transferring his belief system, his ideology to his son and his grandchildren. So they are running with the same ideology Ahmad Bello had when he was a leader. So I don't see anything different from what is happening now, from what has happened in the past. It's still the same thing happening. But the problem we're having now today is that Nigerians are they're kind of not interested so much to the point that someone will come all the way to your own state and kill indigents, and everybody's folding their hands. You know, it's really alarming and it's really worrying to see this happening. If this carries on like this, if nothing is done, and this 4 years tenure comes to an end or coming to an end, we will see more of these things, even worse than this thing happening. So the best thing now, and what is really discouraging, what is really causing more of the problem is that when something like this is happening and the head of state has never stood up for one day and stand his ground and make a decisive statement about the killing. If anybody is suspecting of anything, you won't blame that person. If anybody is thinking of his intentions, you will not blame that person because he has not for one day stood up, like we see happen in many nations of the world where things like this happen. You see the leader of that country will come on television or on the media and make a statement and denounce this. And not only that, they do something positive to make sure such doesn't happen again. But in the case of Nigeria, it doesn't happen. It's not the same. Everybody, because it's like Nigerian society has been overrun already by these things. People don't have the power even to do a peaceful demonstration on the street. Nobody has the ability to do that again. So it's really worrying. It's actually them carrying on doing what have been put down for them over the years.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Viewers, the lines are open 0207 536 0382. The lines are open. You can call in to make a contribution or ask any question. We all saw what happened in New Zealand some few weeks ago. The killing of some people in prayer, Muslims.
Yes.
And we saw how the president or the prime minister of that country, a woman, reacted immediately, how she effectively tackled that issue of killing.
Yes.
That happened it was just an incident that happened. But in the case of Nigeria, it's a daily occurrence. Lives are being lost every day. People are being hacked down every day. They could be sleeping at home in the night. People surround them and then shoot them. Nobody says anything. What do we say could be the motive for our president not reacting to this thing the way it should be reacted? Rather, he seems to be condoning what is going on. What could be the motive for that?
I think what I would like to say, and I think what is important, is that we should take very seriously the statement that has been made by former President Obasanjo. We should take it very seriously. But I also think that as a former leader, he has a responsibility to Nigerians. If anything, also to himself and his children and his children's children, to come out and speak out more. Because I believe that there are more information that he has that he's yet to disclose. I mean, what we've simply had from him perhaps is just a tip of what he knows. But I think it's important that he discloses and perhaps also put certain people together to take actions to make sure that whatever plans, that negative plans that have been hatched for that country does not take effect at all. Because I worry, Chukwudi. I don't work in the intelligence service, but I think perhaps, like many other people, I'm smart enough to understand when things are not going well. And I think in terms of the Nigerian situation, there are issues that we need to immediately address. We shouldn't leave it for tomorrow, because tomorrow might be too late for us to leave it.
Okay, there is, in fact, Obasanjo was not alone. Before him, before the election, the former defense minister, Theophilus Danjuma,
yes,
came up at a public forum,
yes,
to also say the same thing, that Nigerians should begin to defend themselves,
yes,
that their military establishments can no longer protect them.
yes.
Now, this is a former defense minister who has been number 2 in Nigeria,
yes,
you know, who is even in the commanding heights of the economy today in Nigeria, who is into oil, who is into many things, who has been in positions of authority and power. Say it, and also a military general coming out to say that Nigerians, defend yourselves. And since he said that, nothing has happened to negate or what he said. Now, we have a call on the line. Hello, Ade.
Yeah, good evening. This is Ade from London. Actually, Nigeria's case has become quite a very unfortunate case. I mean, it's a very unfortunate scenario that I've had to watch daily lately, and I think we got it wrong from the beginning. If you want to have my opinion to this, you know, like Confederacy would have been the best bet, and unfortunately, some of these stakeholders, some of these, I call them canal rats rather than humans, who've been at the top for too long. First of all, the military, mostly always from the north, and now this civilian, government. I don't know if it's a government or something. You know, I think it's time for a real people's revolution. Honestly, I mean, these people are not taking the people very seriously, and I think something has to be done somehow. I don't mind a real people's revolution now, because honestly, I'm a Nigerian. I live here in the UK. I'm not a Nigerian citizen anymore. I'm a German citizen. But it's very unfortunate to sit down and keep watching all this nonsense going on. Honestly, it is very appalling. And if the people don't take their country back, if we don't take our country back, I don't know who would, honestly, because it's gotten to that point. The president doesn't get up to say anything. Any of the times anything happens, and that's a president. Come on, it's a joke, man. It's a joke. Sometimes I'm so ashamed to be a Nigerian. Honestly, I mean, it's really unfortunate. It's really, really, really.
Do we take the country back?
If we can get a couple of people who would probably just spark off a revolution, or that these people just back off or do things right, I don't see anything that's going to happen in the near or far future. I'm telling you.
So what's the way forward? And then what's the way forward?
So that's my contribution anyway.
Okay. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, Ade. He said that Nigeria is ripe for revolution. Is that the easiest or the best way to go?
I think there's need for us, and he's right, there's need for us to take our country back. But I think you made a statement before Ade spoke. You alluded to the fact that, we need to come out and it was a need for a revolution, I believe, what it was. But it's like fighting a man a man who has a gun. You've got a machete. Right now, we have what we have very strategic positioning of Northerners in high top positions. The police, the military, all the arms of the military are taken by Northerners. When events and killings happen in Nigeria, nobody gets up to speak about it. When the chief of police is asked, they will come up with an excuse to say either it never happened or it was a certain set of either criminals. Nobody's taking responsibility, and it's simply, for me, goes to show that there is a huge corroboration and a cover-up ongoing presently. And I think that things are going to get worse. I'm sorry to say this. I'm one of those who, I love my country. If I have to, take steps in my own little way to try and save it, I will do so. But I think we need to. Perhaps the revolution might be the case. Some people will lose their life in that process, but maybe it would get us back our country. But I think previous former leaders have a responsibility because they put us in this mess. I have to be very sincere with you. I'm not just pointing at former President Obasanjo. I'm also talking about Jonathan. I'm talking about those who came before him. These people must have had intelligence. People were aware that Boko Haram existed. They must have known the purpose of Boko Haram. They must have known what was intended for that country. And yet, for the fear of either their own safety, as opposed to that of the overall Nigerians, they decided to keep quiet and let us get to this point. They have to take responsibilities. And I think that particular responsibility needs to come out in the form of them speaking out and taking steps perhaps to also look outwards to get support to make sure that whatever it is that is planned for that country doesn't take effect.
Yeah, but you see, Tony, there is this issue of, we talked about Boko Haram, because most of us know how Boko Haram started. How it started as a governor from Borno State, incumbent governor, because of the fact that he wanted to come back as governor. Got these people together because they have, when you have money, when you have money, money can make you to do whatever you want to do. If you don't have money in a good way, you spend that money in an evil way. Absolutely. These people, he can boast to be a billionaire. Even when he was in Senate, he boasted to be a billionaire, and then he became a governor and on a different party platform from that of the central government. Then he wanted to retain power at all costs. He recruited people, armed them to be his talks, to support him, and then make sure that his election, he won the election. From that little beginning, they pampered the thing, and they now killed their leader. The leader of Boko Haram initially was arrested by police. The police way they killed him, and then the people now rose against the killing of their leader. The thing metamorphosed. The leaders took it, treated with the clicky gloves, and then it blossomed into what it is, into hydra-headed monster it is now. And then some people began to feed on it. Under Jonathan, people were feeding on it, and then until now. Added to that, we have headsmen. Headsmen now came to compound the thing. Boko Haram was in a particular place. They were situated in the northeast of Nigeria. Headsmen now came, infiltrated the whole of the country. Yes. They had to infiltrate the country to carry out their mayhem. Now, it's got to its worst stage under President Buhari, who has done nothing about it, and now they are spreading. At what should we do? What should Nigerians do? Do Nigerians have to arm themselves? Because as it is, the military is not providing any kind of security. They are allowed to go do whatever they want to do. What is the advice for Nigerians? How should they react to this?
Most people would like to arm themselves, but the question is this: how are you going to arm yourself? How many people have access to guns? at least at that in Nigeria to arm themselves. And you have to understand that the weapon these people are carrying is not pistol, no. It's not a revolver. These are heavy machines, that can obliterate a village in maybe 30 minutes. So how are you going to arm yourself with a pistol? That's probably the highest a Nigerian can get, maybe. These people are using missiles, launchers to do all these things. So people that Nigerian military could not face, let's put it that way, Nigerian military
cannot face them because they don't have the sincerity to face They can face them because the government.
Nigerian military was ill-equipped.
They have what it takes.
Ill-equipped, yes.
It was
so intentional.
They can't face them. Nigerian military run away from these people. So how, if Nigerian government and military are running away from these people, the Boko Haram and the herdsmen, how will ordinary man on the street face them?
No, because it transcends Boko Haram now. We're looking at the herdsmen because Boko Haram was still in a particular part of the country. The people who they are using as a tool, from what Obasanjo said, to want to Islamize Nigeria, are not the Boko Harams, but the herdsmen who travel from north to south.
You find them in. I'm so sorry. You find them literally in every part of Nigeria.
Yeah.
Now, do you recall? It was a few years ago when they actually asked people who had weapons, firearms, to actually hand firearms back. Mm-hmm. So when this was happening, I kept asking myself, why is it that people who had licenses to carry gun, to hand them back? Why would you want to?
And after that happened, this thing now became exacerbated.
In the middle of a crisis, a country that has already been tormented by, headsmen. Why would you take the only source of protection from Nigerians? For what the reason was ridiculous.
Yes, and then unleash the herdsmen.
Exactly.
One thing I can find out, the Boko Haram and herdsmen are like working hand in hand these days. What they are doing is not different from the other. These people are there to overrun a society and a community. The herdsmen take their land by force. The animals destroy crops, destroy things. People can't even go to their farms again.
Yes.
Then the Boko Haram are doing the same thing. So it's like these people are working hand in hand and trying to carry out. You know what gives them the strength to move on? Because the man that is at the helm of affairs has not stood up one day to condemn all these things happening and mean it, that people know that this man means business. If tomorrow Buhari stands up with all sincerity and make a statement on the dailies, on national, on the TVs, and begin to outlay his plans on how to tackle this problem and mean to do it, the problem of Nigeria will be half solved. But because he's silent, nothing is done. And look at his appointments, they're all the same group of people. That's what is fueling these people's power and energy. How can you arrest a criminal, a murderer, and the next thing you do is to, give him like a hero's welcome, bring him back to the society again, recruit him to the army again? How can a murderer serve in the national army? He hasn't done it. It's not done in any society.
It's not. There's no justification.
No, a murderer who murders people, caught red-handed, with evidence, with gun and ammunition, you release him, give him army uniform to serve in the nation, to serve as a military man again. It's
unheard of.
I mean, I haven't heard of something like that before. So that's what fuels their ability, and nothing will happen to us. After all, he's our man, he's our brother, he's our president, he's for us. So they can do whatever they want to do.
So it's not as if these people they are not faceless. They have an association.
Yes.
Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association.
Yes, and
their patron is the president of Nigeria.
Exactly.
So what is it difficult for them to fish them out and to call them to order?
I remember
they don't
when
kill their own.
I remember when
they don't fight their own.
I remember when they had issues. I think it was in Cameroon, and I recall when the Cameroonian government had taken action against them, and they now petitioned the Nigerian government, Buhari, who they held on to and said that obviously, Buhari would take action against the Cameroonian government. Now, what my concern is this: we have Nigerians today who are farmers who can't go into their farm. So you might have a village who's been starved out, and I think it's a strategy. If you deny a man food, it becomes easy to capture him. So you have perhaps a whole village where people are afraid to go to the farm because they know if you go to the farm, they either be beheaded and killed. So they'll go home, sit down and eat the little they can cultivate. And ultimately, food is going to run out. But what we are facing here is a very serious, dangerous situation. And Nigerians need to wake up. We need to wake up. I speak to people, and some of them literally just come up with this flimsy excuse, oh, because you don't like the president. I don't hate the president.
Nobody hates him.
I don't hate the president, but what I see is, I see the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah.
And people need to wake up and do something about it.
Yes, we have a caller on the line. Annie. Hello, Annie.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. Thank you very much for your discussion. I'm happy to, say something about this because we Nigerians, we don't see things as it comes because all the things going on in Nigeria is just being like a play, like a joke. And they see now the president seeing what is going on, seeing people killing every day. And he never even say a word, which is true as you people are discussing it. As we are here in London, we are not happy at all. What I'm saying now is that people have to wake up. Our people must be honest with themselves. They have to forget about the politicians because they are doing politics in Nigeria. The politics they are doing is not nice. They don't care about the people they serve, people that vote them in to do the job, to look after their country. They are not doing anything. I'm happy, to say what you people are saying. If our people can wake up today, they will save themselves and they will be rescued because we are in danger. We are in real danger now because not only the South that are suffering it, it's now in the North, it's in the West. If they don't wake up now and say, no, enough is enough, my brothers, we are in trouble. I know what I go through when I've been a soldier in Biafra. I'm 13 years old to fight for Biafra then. Now I'm seeing what is going on now. Only God can save us. If we don't wake up as people saying it, it will be late. Yes. And our children will suffer it. Thank you very much. Go.
Thank you very much for your contribution. That was a very good one. He said he had experience in Biafra, 13-year-old then, that what he's seeing now does not portend well for Nigeria. Yeah. So.
And he's right. He's absolutely right. Yeah, I think it's a man who is in denial that would actually see what is happening now and simply maintain that all is well. All is not well. Yeah. And all is not going to be well if Nigerians do not stand up and fight for what is right.
Now, some people have asked, why was it possible? How was it possible that seeing all these indices, all the things that we are talking about now, yeah, that election held 2 months ago, and the same people who are in control, who don't have the interest of Nigeria at heart, still won the election. As President Buhari is one we're talking about now.
Sorry, the outcome of the election is still contested. Atiku is contesting it. He's in court at the moment. His position is that he should be declared the president. Obviously, until the court pronounces him so, Buhari remains where he is as a president. But then the question, we know that elections were rigged. We went through that motion. We know what happened during the electoral period. INEC, what happened to INEC and the fact even our president at INEC, from my understanding of it, refuses to disclose information held on the server. Why would that be the case? If the former contestant for the presidency is aggrieved and is in court, disclosure should be made in accordance with the court. There's court order for that to be done, but yet every step seems to be blocked. I really don't give any credibility to what we have in terms of the election result, to be honest with you, because it is down to he who rigs best is the winner. I wouldn't sit here and say that the APC, the PDP themselves did not rig. I mean, from what we know of it, from their record, they began the issue of rigging in Nigeria. Nobody here can come to the table with clean hands. Everybody has played a very negative role to the state that is called Nigeria today. Those who are in Senate, our lawmakers, have disappointed us because all they care about is their own selfish interest. Yeah. You go to a senator's house, there's about 30 cars, antiques. What is a man doing with 30 cars? Cars that are worth perhaps over $300,000 each. What is he doing with it? Where did he get the money from?
People are silent.
And people see this and nobody says anything. Nobody says anything because perhaps every Nigerian who goes into politics wants a piece of the cake.
Well, from what I'm seeing, Master, personally, it's like Nigerians are quiet and silent, but it's not really, it might not be exactly. I'm thinking that when it comes to the point where the whole thing is spilling out, you might be surprised to see Nigerians on the street, not carrying arms,
but there is
but demonstrating in a peaceful manner, just like what we've seen in some of the African countries.
Yeah, but the ruling class, they think that the Nigerians are so docile, and they do.
One mistake they have to avoid is this: to ever think that people who are about over 180 million people are docile. That's a big mistake for them to think that way, because these people think they are docile. Might not be docile really. It might be that it hasn't got to the point where it's spilling up. But the surprising thing to me is that half of what is happening in Nigeria at the moment, in other countries, it won't be just that. Things would have been happening by now. But I guess Nigerians are very resilient and very patient people. But you don't take that for granted. Because time might come when they may decide to take the whole thing by their arms and do what they need to do.
Okay. Your contribution, last contribution.
I hope we don't get to the point where things start spilling over before we do anything, because it may be too late, just too late at that point. It's important that we start dealing with the issue now that we know what is going on. Because at the time that things start spilling over, Nigerians will not have control over it.
Okay. Thank you so much for your contribution. Viewers, we have come to the end of this week's edition of Newspunch. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming to this program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Until next time, we say goodbye.
Is all bring to you here on Newspunch. We give you the information that you need, from business to economy, to politics, to technology. And that's all we do here on Newspunch, from the beginning to the end. And that is why we are here. Keep watching Newspunch from Ben Television. Today.